One is Christian or not, most people know the stories about Christmas and Easter, of Jesus' birth and his crucifixion and resurrection. As Christmas time approaches, Christians prepare to celebrate the birth of Christ. The person whom Jesus grew up to be, though, tends to be forgotten. Here are two stories paraphrased from the Gospels of Luke, chapter 4, and John, chapter 2, that serve as a reminder of the adult that Jesus became. And Jesus came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as it was his habit on the Sabbath day, he went to synagogue. And he got up to read publicly and was given the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. And unrolling the book, he happened to find the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the one who is God rests upon me, to anoint me to preach good news to poor people. I am sent to proclaim amnesty for captive people, and the recovery of insight to proud blind people. I am sent to heal in order to forgive, and to forgive in order to heal. I am sent to proclaim a year of reconciliation with the one who is God." And rolling up the scroll to give back to the attendant, Jesus sat down. And the eyes of everyone in the synagogue were riveted upon him. And he began to say to them, "Today these words are fulfilled as you hear." But everyone was complimenting him, amazed at the elegant words that proceeded from his mouth. Then they said, "Isn't this Joseph's son?" And he said to them, "More than likely you will quote to me this proverb, 'Physician, heal thyself.' And you will say, 'What we heard you did in Capernaum, do here for your own people.' I tell you the truth, no prophet is ever politically correct in one's own hometown. In all honesty, I say to you, there were many widows in Israel at the time of Elijah, when there was no rain for 3.5 years, but there was a terrible famine throughout the land. Yet he was sent to none of them, except a woman who was widowed, of Zarephath of Sidon, Lebanon. And there were many lepers in Israel at the time of Elisha the prophet, but none of them was healed except Naaman of Syria. All who heard this were outraged. They seized him and dragged him out of the synagogue to the very brow of the cliff on which the city was built. They meant to throw him head first over the side, but cutting through their midst, Jesus got away. There was a wedding in Cana of the Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. Jesus also was invited, along with some of his friends. When he ran out of wine, his mother said to him, "They are out of wine." Jesus said to her, "Ah, woman, what do you want me to do about it?" "Mother, it doesn't seem to be the time for me to do this sort of thing." His mother said to the servants there, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Now 6 carved stone jars were standing nearby, used for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding between 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill those jars with water." So they filled them up. And he said, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of ceremonies." So they did it. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water, now supposedly changed to wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who drew the water knew, the master of ceremonies sent for the bridegroom, and he said, "Most people serve the good wine first, and after everyone is drinking a lot, then the cheap stuff. But you are only just now starting to serve the best wine." Jesus performed his first symbolic act in Cana of the Galilee and demonstrated his glorious sense of humor, and his friends were likewise transformed into disciples. Just as the adult Jesus tends to be overlooked at Christmas time, likewise during the rest of the year, the role that Mary, the mother of Jesus, played in shaping the person he would become and his message tends to be overlooked. The first two stories suggest how that was so, and the story that now follows suggests why she was chosen to be what is called the Theotokos, the God-bearer, the one who brought the child of God into the world. 3 months before the birth of John the Baptist, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to a town of the Galilee called Nazareth, to a young woman engaged to a man called Joseph of the house of David. The young woman's name was Mary. And entering to stand before her, this angelic messenger said, "Praise to you, gifted one, the one who is God is with you." But Mary was startled by this voice and panicked about what sort of greeting this could be. The angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you will find yourself to be exalted by the one who is God. Now look here, you will bear in your womb and bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. He will be magnificent, and as Son of the highest good will he be known. He will guide the house of Jacob into eternity, and his beloved community will have no end." Then Mary said, "In what way is this to be, since I have not been with a man?" And the angel answered her, "The great Spirit, life, breath of holiness will enter upon you, and power of the highest good will embrace you. Therefore the one who is to be born will be consecrated to be called the Son of God. And look here, Elizabeth, your relative, is pregnant with a son, though she herself is advanced in age. And this is the 6th month for her who had been called barren. Therefore it is not impossible for God to do anything." And Mary said, "Look at me. I am a woman and servant of God. Let this happen to me just as you have said." And the holy messenger departed from her. Right then Mary got up, and she made the arduous journey over the high country to a town in Judea. She entered the house of Zechariah and greeted her relative Elizabeth. And when Elizabeth heard Mary's voice upon her arrival, the fetus kicked inside Elizabeth's womb. Inspired by the great Spirit of holiness, Elizabeth cried out with a great shout, "Praise to you among women, and praise for the harvest of your womb. How can it be that the mother of my Lord should visit me? Feel here, for as the sound of your hello came into my ear, the baby in my womb danced. And how happy is the woman who believes that what was told to her by the one who is God will come true." Then Mary said, "My life celebrates the one who is God, and my spirit is overjoyed because of God my champion, who has seen the wretched conditions of this servant of God. For look here, from now on I will be honored by all generations, because God has ennobled me with life-giving power, and because God's name is honorable. Therefore God's mercy will be there for generation upon generation of those who respect God. The power of God's reach has been demonstrated in the thwarting of narrow-minded bigots. God has toppled tyrants from their thrones and provided for the empowerment of the poor. The hungry have been given plenty to eat, and gluttons have been sent out to fast. Help has been given to God's servant Israel, those who struggle with God. Just as deliverance was promised to our ancestors, to Abraham and Sarah and Hagar, so it has continued for their descendants ever since.